Hey everybody, welcome to this new episode of the Wellness Podcast. In this episode, we have a guest, Harshita Anand, who is a counselor psychologist, and we discussed about how society, social environment, and family culture define your self-worth. Because you inherit some of the parameters and belief systems that build your self-confidence. Your individuality should be your priority. How you are making decisions, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, should be your decision. If that is in your hand, then your happiness and your sadness will be correlated to your self-worth as well. So in this episode we also discussed a couple of controversial things where we discussed about how political structure, how the country you live in basically makes sense to your self-worth. So this episode is going to be amazing. Do watch it till the end.
So hey Arshita, how are you?
I am great, Ishank. How are you doing?
Good enough, good enough. I'm just so happy that you accepted the offer to be on the podcast. I'm very happy to host you here.
It's lovely to be here. I love having conversations about mental health.
Sure thing, sure thing, sure thing. So today we'll be majorly discussing about how your personality gets shaped with your past experiences and even I meet many people that
Hmm.
believe that yeah ये मूवी ने चेंज कर दिया
Hmm.
मेरा पूरा करियर मेरा पूरा लाइफ ट्रेजेक्टरी मेरा पूरा लाइफ एंड कैरेक्टर starts.
Hmm.
So, for example, I love Imtiaz Ali. I would very happy to talk about it. So,
Yeah.
Tamasha is a movie.
Yes.
तमाशा मूवी ने ही इतने करियर चेंज किए तरह लाइक लोगों की लाइफ चेंज की है दैट आई हार्डली बिलीव कि किसी और मूवी ने की होगी इतनी डेप्थ में इंडिया में सो
Hmm.
दैट्स माय
Hmm.
पर्सनल ओपिनियन दैट कैन बी रॉन्ग बट
Yeah.
yeah so what do you want to say about it like how people take their personality is
Hmm.
it true personality that they own या फिर personality होती क्या just going with the
Hmm.
basic question what is the personality what
Okay.
is the narrative that you carry about yourself.
Yeah. So the narrative which we carry about ourselves is very important that we understand it's shaped by multiple factors. Of
Hmm.
course, nurture and nature debate will always be there, and I agree. But at the same time, when we are growing up, when we see people around us, when we learn from our, authoritative figures, our caregivers, our primary caregivers, we understand that what to believe about ourselves, what to believe about the world. For
Mhm.
example, a child basically understands how to basically think about themselves from their parents, right?
Right.
How
Hmm.
parents treat them, how the world treats them, and how actually, and of course, like you said, that media has a very big role to play in this,
Hmm.
right? We say that the movies we watch, the games we play, and the content we actually consume actually shapes a lot of how and what we believe in, right? So the narrative is built over the years. And as you grow older, you realize that how that is influencing your life. And do you like it or not? Personality is shaped by a lot of factors. Of course, there's some core to it, but certain
Hmm.
beliefs and behaviors, when you actually grew up and realize that you don't align with them anymore, right? Let's say there was a rule in the house, oh, as a person, you should always be nice to everybody. But you grow up and realize that you cannot be nice to everyone. You can't keep everybody happy, right? And because of this belief, you might have understood that, oh, you are not able to voice out your needs, or you're not able to make boundaries with people, and saying no is such a big problem for so many people. And a lot of people will come and tell you that, oh, I am not an assertive person. It's not about you not being assertive, it's more about what you believed in for so long, and you were never able to change it because you thought that's the truth of your life, right? So beliefs can be questioned, can be reshaped. It's about who is actually shaping the narrative.
With examples, can you just define it in much more depth? For example, what I personally saw in my life is parenthood plays a very important role. The society you live in plays a very important role.
Hmm.
And I was just reading about this as well. A lot of
Hmm.
cases in Iran. So
Hmm.
Iran may even just you are going towards any particular uh, cultural fest or maybe just like a gathering.
Hmm.
If you are a female and not going with your husband, there will be
Hmm.
a different viewership, different kind of
Hmm.
angle of it
Hmm.
that people in society will uh,
Hmm.
look up to.
Hmm.
And in Middle East, it's a bit different. In India,
Hmm.
it's way different. In Nepal, it's a
Hmm.
bit different. In China, it's a way different. So I believe the geographical advantage is something we should appreciate that we are born in this country because we
Hmm.
have laws accordingly, we have society accordingly. Of course, there are flaws, but
Hmm.
there are a lot of advantages as well that
Hmm.
I can at least freely go outside of my house.
Hmm.
I will not be gathered by boons or something like that. So I will just be very inclined
Hmm.
towards geographical advantage. So that's
Hmm.
also nourish your personality, what I believe. So
Hmm.
about the society, because your geographical location, your atmosphere also correlate to your society and your cultural
Hmm.
references and your ancestors. So that
Hmm.
also shapes your major society that you are living in. That also creates your personality in some sense. So, what do you say about it? So, what do you think society impact, and with examples, can you just define it?
Hmm. Okay, sure. I do understand where you're coming from. So demographic profile is something which is important, right? Why it is important is because your socio-economic and socio-cultural factors do actually help you understand that where do you stand, what do you do, and how do you see yourself in the world, right? So for example, I'll take a very simple example, right? Being a woman and being a man in society is a very different altogether stature because at the end of the day, there's a lot of gender and power which comes into the picture, right? So when it comes to, let's say, safety, or when it comes to how you view yourself, when it comes to dressing up, when it comes to a lot of things, if you're a woman in a very, let's say, conservative and not so modernized society, like how people frame it, like modernized, right? If you're in a patriarchal society, very patriarchal, India is also patriarchal to some extent. Every country will have some or the other influence of some or the other kind of social factors. For example, patriarchy is a one major factor, right? So, how patriarchy influences in the area you're living will also matter how you dress, how you speak, how you actually take care of yourself. That is why we say, right, social media has made a huge change. People are able to actually take care of themselves, or people are speaking up. People have been given the space and platform, and people are more informed, right, with technology. But at the end of the day, where you are living and how people around you are will actually matter how you actually, talk about yourself and what do you really do. So, for example, in India, right, there is a culture of how
Mhm.
do you call it? Guest is God, right? And you will see a lot of areas where people will try and greet the guest and they will literally make a whole feast for the person, and food is something which how they show their love and everything. So they will tell that, oh, please eat. If they don't eat, it's like a insult to them, right? It's showing of respect is through, like, you consuming the food somebody has made for you. It's sort of like a love language as well to some extent for them. I'm talking very casually here. This is not psychological in this case. But when it comes to Western cultures, to some extent, there is a very strict understanding of if somebody wants it, they will take it. If they don't want it, they won't take it. Right? You don't have to emphasize on could you please, serving them too many times, making sure they are eating or not. So cultural differences are there, right? For example, when you talk about boundaries in India, if you talk to anybody about boundaries, they're like, हमारे घर में नहीं होता ये सब. What do you mean? Right? That is something which you need to make it to a level that where they understand what is their first step. I can't tell them that straight away start saying no to people and just make a boundary with your family. They'll be like, my family doesn't understand boundaries. What are you talking about? Right? Tell me what is a boundary. Right? So, but when it comes to, because we are also a collectivistic culture, right? There is a lot of collectivism here. But when it comes to some Western culture, there's a lot of individualistic mentality where you come first and then comes the family. Here a lot of times it will be like family or the culture or the community comes first, right? So this perspective shift is also something which is like if you go abroad, there would be some places where you would listen to this word of like, yeah, I have my boundaries, or work-life balance wise, that somebody would draw their boundary. Of course, in every country it's different. But if you go towards Europe, right, their work-life balance is a lot better than a lot of other countries, right? Because they know how to draw boundaries. There are laws around mental health there to actually take care of people's burnout, right? You
Right.
come to India, people are burning out straight up and nobody cares. And I'm not even exaggerating here. It's the truth. You can see how bad mental health has gotten.
I'll just share one example about it. There was
Yeah,
one person, I don't know where he is right now, where he belongs to, but this video really got viral. That this
yeah.
guy was trying to do suicide, and he was at top of his house, was just on the verge of jumping up. There was policemen around him. They just came at the top, hold him first, भाई मारा है उसको, ठीक है। मतलब वो कूदने वाला था, ठीक है, उसे पकड़ के सबसे पहले जैसे ही ऊपर आया, चाटा मारा है, ठीक है। एंड पीपल वर ऑफ कोर्स लाफिंग इट, मेकिंग मीम आउट ऑफ इट। एंड बस हंसने की बात है कि मेंटल हेल्थ का क्या ऐसा सिनेरियो है इंडिया में। एंड दैट्स वेरी बैड, बिकॉज एक बंदा अपने सोसाइटी से परेशान होकर अपने लाइफ को एंड करने के लिए एक स्टेप उठाने जा रहा है, जैसे ही वो बच जा रहा है उसे पुलिस वाले मार रहे हैं। एंड सो दैट्स समथिंग वेरी 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 वेरी, यू कैन से, पैराडॉक्सिकल,
Mm,
राइट। एंड ये सोच के भी
yeah.
हंसी आती है कि ये हालत है भाई।
Absolutely.
राइट।
It's a very, very horrible issue here. It is a very serious concern how we look at mental health here. Stigma is there, and I understand that, we are still trying to overcome that stigma, right? But at the same time, people are also not serious about it. They think it's just something, you know how a lot of times you hear this
राइट।
statement that depression कुछ नहीं होता है, सब तुम्हारे दिमाग में है, ज्यादा सोचो मत, सो जाओ, सुबह 5 बजे उठो, सब ठीक हो जाएगा, पानी पियो. And you realize that people genuinely don't understand. And I understand where they might be coming from. They also don't understand what is mental health. What are you talking about? हम लोग काम करते थे, खाना खाते थे, सो जाते थे, who cares? But then when you actually try to see that if a child is going through something so serious, before getting help, the child is being beaten. I think so beating children is something we should, it's going to be like a conversation which has been happening since so many days in our country at the moment,
राइट।
right? And that there also a very huge angle of mental health was there. Nobody cared about the mental health.
हम्म।
So many people ended their lives because of such a huge issue which happened, but it was taken so
हम्म।
lightly by the government. It had to take like so long. People being beaten, hunger strikes, tear gas shells, so many things to happen for them to take a step and understand. And it's the same thing, right? In this country, a lot of times people think we need to fix suicide, right? The suicide rates need to decrease. So you must have heard, right? The fans being removed or the fans made in a way that you can't really hang yourself, specifically in places like Kota and other spaces. Nobody's trying to understand the underlying problem. Everybody is trying to fix the repercussion of the problem or the consequence
राइट।
of the problem, right? So now you understand that where you live, who is around you, right? Everything does shape your belief system. It does contribute even a tiny bit, right? If you were in a place where nobody allowed you to do a lot of things, you would try to get out of that space. And when you do, you will find it really difficult to open up to others, right? Sometimes because you'll be like,
हम्म।
I don't know. And you will question yourself and you will question your identity a lot of times. So I can give you 1,000 examples, but if I start talking, then there's no end to this question.
Right. Plus, what do you say about the personality traits in a different state? I'll just take an example. Animal
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
रणवीर कपूर को पूरे टाइम लगा अपने पापा के लिए कर रहा हूं मैं,
Hmm.
ठीक है।
Hmm.
कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी बोथ द साइड्स में था, जहाँ पे
Hmm.
अनिल कपूर भी कह रहा है कि रणविजय मेरे नाम पे ही तो कर रहा है ये, एंड कितने खून करेगा मेरे नाम पे। सो
Hmm.
दैट वाज अ थिंग। But
Hmm.
in the mind of Ranveer Kapoor, Ranvijay, a character, it was more of, okay, I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just because prolonged development of his character in his childhood, जहाँ पे उसे अपने डैड से टाइम नहीं मिला
Hmm. Hmm.
और अपने डैड के सामने कुछ करना चाह रहा था, सो दैट मतलब कुछ बहुत ही बड़ा करना चाह रहा था, सो दैट डैड के सामने वो इम्पोर्टेंस फील हो जाए, ठीक है,
Hmm.
डैड टाइम दे पाए, ठीक है,
Hmm.
उसको सीरियसली ले में भी, ठीक है, सो वट
Hmm.
एवर इट वॉज, because of his childhood he became
Hmm.
so violent
Hmm.
to prove something, to
Hmm.
buy more time for his father, maybe to save him, save his father, save his
Hmm.
family. So whatever it was, I want to understand more about it. That personality traits जो कि wrong हो, जो self belief लोगों के अंदर होता है ना कि मैं तो ऐसे ही हूँ, मैं हूँ ऐसा, ठीक है,
Hmm.
अब
Hmm.
जो मैं कर रहा हूँ वो सही है, मेरे लिए सही है, तो मेरे लिए सही है तो वो
Hmm.
सही है, ठीक है, चाहे वो
Hmm.
सोसाइटी के लिए गलत हो। सो
Hmm.
ये कैसे नरिश होता है, इसके क्या ट्रेट्स ऐसे हो सकते हैं, यू कैन जस्ट डिफाइन 4 5 ट्रेट्स और सो,
Hmm.
या फिर 4 5 थिंग्स दैट इम्पैक्ट पर्सनालिटी इन द
Hmm.
चाइल्डहुड,
Hmm.
जो कि लॉन्ग रन में
Hmm.
रहती है हमेशा।
Okay. So, one thing which you brought up about animal movie is that how the character's attachment to the father, right? And one thing is that मैंने animal movie नहीं देखी है. So this is something which I will tell you. But I understand what you were talking about. I understand the concept of it. And Animal movie was a movie which was highly like critiqued because of how the plot was. And of course, it was, we will not go into that direction. It was, of course, a very, very horrible plot or whatever. But coming back to the part about how sometimes we want validation of a certain person, and for that we do things or go beyond certain limits in a way, right? Bending rules or laws around and everything, how he was doing probably. So the part is that attachment is a very big part of your life, right? Your attachment begins in childhood only, right? How you're secure or how you're insecure or how you're anxious, how you're avoidant, whatever is that. So attachment theory basically begins in your childhood. But at the end of the day, when you grow up as well, the effects of it do last, right? So, for
Hmm.
example, if as a kid you never got your parents' attention, or let's say as a kid you went through something very violent, right? Like you saw your parents being extremely violent, right? You might grow up to be a person who either avoids conflicts, right? Could be
Hmm.
that you crave for somebody's attention, so you might be anxiously attached. I'm not diagnosing anybody by talking to you in this case. I am saying that there are a lot of reasons why somebody might have some kind of an attachment style they have at the moment, right? And sometimes childhood attachment to your caregivers or your primary caregivers is also responsible for how you are in a particular romantic relationship, in friendships, or in life as well at times, right? So, the reason sometimes there are certain insecurities people have in a relationship is because of how they were probably in childhood, if they haven't really worked on themselves, right? Working on yourself, you can work on a lot of things. It's not necessary something will last that long that you will never overcome it. Had Ranveer Kapoor in that movie gone to therapy, might have helped him. But yeah, I'm not promoting just therapy, but working on yourself is important. Like your relationship with yourself is also developed as a child as you see your
Hmm.
relationship form with your parents, right? So feeling very underconfident or extremely nervous or very, very anxious
Hmm.
socially because your childhood was a certain way, because probably you never got the chance to feel secure and feel like somebody has got your back so you can take the risk and be confident or make mistakes in life. That is why you will see a lot of people also sometimes turn into people who are very, very perfectionistic. They never want to make a mistake. Academic excellence is also something which becomes a part of somebody's life, and that carries on till a very long time because they start seeing themselves as my worth is how much I can work. My worth is how productive I am. A lot of people go on to become workaholics as well. So I'm not saying that that is the only reason, but I'm saying it could play a part in this conversation and in this part that you become a certain way. So if as a kid your parents were extremely critical of you, right? Your inner critic dialogue would be very horrible, most probably. You would judge yourself a lot. You will be very self conscious. You will go on stage and you will live in your head and you will talk to yourself in your head a lot, right? Maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. What if people are judging me right now? Fear of judgment also develops. Fear of abandonment also develops, right? All of these things, and you are very well aware how fear of judgment and fear of abandonment can play a role in relationships, can play a role in your life, right? Be it job, be it college, be it any part of your life. That is why it is said that when you become an adult, part of adulting is also questioning your belief system and asking yourself that do you really align with it anymore? As a kid, you were told that you should never make mistakes, right? But as an adult, you have understood making a mistake is part of your life of learning and growing. So a lot of people are growing up, becoming an adult, and figuring out, oh, it's okay to make a mistake.
So here I want to just add something
Hmm,
that there has been a research that younger child uh,
hmm,
gets more successful in life
hmm,
because he have a liberty. There has been a study, so I don't know exactly how
hmm,
much it's correct, how's the sample size of the result,
hmm,
but
hmm.
what
Of course.
has been there because in the creators industry, in the entrepreneur
Hmm,
industry, and
hmm,
the industry that have higher risk chances
hmm,
are mostly dominated by the younger child.
hmm,
Maybe because younger one have more chances to take risk,
hmm,
uh, and they have a backing. That's
hmm.
something maybe.
Yeah.
Second, second is especially children from a very, very, very rich families
Hmm,
have been more successful in the
hmm,
sense of capital or in terms of you can
hmm,
say second gen, fourth gen, third gen, fifth gen entrepreneurs. They have been more, you can say, sustainable.
hmm,
So I just want to jump into this as well, that how materialism
hmm,
creates self-worth
hmm,
because a lot of normal conversation on dining table also comes to an end with how much you are earning, what you have
hmm,
built, किया
hmm,
क्या है life में.
hmm,
I come from a very different, you can say, dimension in terms of thinking because I read Kabir, I read
hmm,
a lot of philosophy like Charvak,
hmm,
Gautam Buddha, sir, and we can say more of philosophers. So in India, especially, people used to appreciate music like "Do Din Ka Mela Hai, Do Din Mein Chale Jana Hai," and they also,
hmm.
by listening these songs, they also ask कि कितना कमा लिया. So that's something again paradoxical. When you talk about materialism, what do you say
Hmm,
that how materialism impact your self-worth?
hmm. Okay. So again, the part about being materialistic or actually looking at your success in terms of what you have achieved. It's sort of like people see it as a metric of success also sometimes. But the reason is also because capitalism, consumerism, and the society we live in, socioeconomic status is a huge role. It's a very big role which plays into the person's belief system and how they are functioning and what sort of beliefs they carry about success and life. The other part is we are in a hustle culture. It's continuously about what's the next goal, what's the next goal, what's the next goal, and trying to achieve it, right? And to actually go out of this rat race, your belief system will need a good amount of challenging and a refreshment that, what do you really originally believe in? Do you want, I don't know, 3 crores in your bank balance? Is that your goal? Or was that somebody else's goal? Has the society made you believe that that should be your goal,
Hmm.
right? Another aspect to this is that growing up, how was your socioeconomic status? How was finance? How was it talked about? What was money like to you, right? What is your relationship with money will play a very huge role in how you actually see your self-worth and how you actually see money in life in general. Would you always have financial insecurity, or would you be okay with understanding that money is a means to an end, right? It's not the end. So all of these conversations again are formed by what kind of an environment did you grow up in? Or if that's not the case, let's say you did grow up in a very horrible environment, but then you grew up and you understood that that's not the case, right? You were able to refurbish your belief system like that. But that, how often does that happen? It is very rare that a lot of people are able to challenge it on their own without, facing the repercussions first, right? So consumerism, capitalism, and how socioeconomic status is a huge thing in society because we are a part of a functioning society where there is a, oh, you need to give, you need to contribute, you need to. So there's a lot of give and get. There's a lot of transactional relationship which is there. So at the end of the day, the self worth gets tied to it because you are told from the childhood that, oh, पैसे नहीं कमाओगे तो बड़े आदमी कैसे बनोगे? Your salary is important. If you don't have good salary, who will marry you? Or if you're not a young independent person, what is your worth in society? You are useless. If you're unemployed, you're useless. Your identity is so strictly tied to your job status, and that is what something I was talking about recently. It's very dangerous to only tie your identity to your job or your self-worth to just job or the profession you're in. Because what if you do not have a job one day? God forbid, let's say, or you are just unemployed because you want to take a break. Will you say that you don't have a sense of self? Do you not have an identity anymore if you don't have a job? That's not something you will ever question because nobody has told you to question that.
Right. And so I met this wonderful human being whose name is Nitin. He used to say different names हर बार जब भी मैं उनसे मिलता हूँ. He is older than me. Maybe he is double of my age. But when I just understand his philosophy a bit towards life and his wordings, with his wordings, of course I can't get into his mind कि भाई चल क्या रहा है, but maybe his words I can guess couple of things. So उन्होंने आज तक नहीं कहा कि मैं ये हूँ. मैं प्रोफेशनल और टर्म का यूज नहीं किया. So
Hmm.
that's something that he's the only one in my life that I met with that scenario. When I asked him कि like आप क्या करते हो, आप कौन हो exactly? So he stated मैं
Hmm.
बहुत अच्छा आदमी हूँ. He started with this, and then after nearly 1 or 2 minutes, he came to his professional life. So that's a part. He's the only one that I met with this particular approach for life. Maybe with his life experiences, maybe books he read is coming through, but that's really amazing. Like कभी भी आप किसी से मिलोगे ना, so it will be like कि I am a psychologist, I am a BTech grad, I am a software
Hmm.
developer, I am a this.
Yeah.
भाई कल को layoff हो गया फिर क्या है तू? Right? Then
Yeah.
that's a concern. That's a concern. Okay. Your professional identity shapes your particular identity of yourself. So that's pretty true. I want to also jump towards this particular thing when you recently talked about we are very informative right now because of
Hmm.
technology. We can get
Hmm.
information on our fingertips, and we have thousands of
Hmm.
reasons to get
Yeah.
into information. With social
Hmm.
media, we have been able to achieve so much. I want to also jump towards जो आजकल इंडिया में चल रहा है प्रोटेस्ट अगर आप ले लो
Hmm.
जो जंतर मंतर पे हुआ सो
Yes.
आई रेज्ड इट मुझे काफी हेट भी मिली इस चीज को लेके आई पुट अप अ स्टोरी दैट जिन्हें 6 महीने पहले एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर का नाम नहीं पता वो इस्तीफा मांग रहे हैं
Okay.
अब and
Yeah.
that's something that's rage baiting but at the end I was just questioning the self of many people from my generation as well, my age bracket as well, because I'm not that old. I'm pretty young. With beard, I look a bit old, but yeah.
Hmm.
So I was just asking this. I was, uh, you can say, in support, and I am in support of the three particular, you can say, मांगे जो उठ रही थी.
Hmm.
I was in support, but I am not supporting any P that is party also. So
Hmm.
why I asked this particular question कि 6 महीने पहले एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर नहीं पता because I have a serious problem with the people that are active on social media क्योंकि फेक न्यूज़ फैलाना बहुत आसान है and ये लोग बिलीव कर लेते हैं
Hmm.
और वही अपनी पर्सनालिटी बना लेते हैं कई हद तक क्योंकि वो मारने लग जाते हैं उस चीज को कि यार मतलब
Hmm.
अगर ब्रेकअप हुआ है और तो यही रीजन होते हैं कैरेक्टरिस्टिक के, तो मेरे अंदर ये कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है, तो मैं तो ऐसे ही हूँ। ठीक है, सो दैट
Hmm.
कैन बी अ थिंग। Relating it to protest and relating it to this particular thing, social media movement इंडिया में पहली बार इतना बड़ा हुआ है, एंड
Hmm.
I am very happy about it because I personally follow Sarthak Goswami, Sandesh from years now. From the days of Sarthak Goswami when he was in the Deshbhakt having his own show on weekends, I was following him since then. And I love the on-ground reporting, the conversation that these independent journalists had, KK creates, and everything. So
Hmm.
when you talk about this particular generation on social media, information overload है and they don't know how to differentiate it. The problem that I was stating कि जो मुझे personally लगी कि लॉकअप एक सीजन चल रहा है, एक पर्टिकुलर वेब सीरीज है, उनमें कौन कौन कंसिस्टेंट कॉन्टेस्टेंट है उन्हें सब पता है, कौन कौन लोग आए हैं वहां पे उन्हें सब पता है, बट इनसे हेल्थ मिनिस्टर पूछ लो कौन है। ठीक है, वो नहीं पता। सो दैट्स अ पर्सनल चॉइस एज वेल कि मेरी चॉइस है कि मैं इधर ज्यादा सीरियस लूंगा चीजों को, यहाँ पे ज्यादा अपना टाइम इन्वेस्ट करूंगा या ज्यादा ब्रेन की कैपेसिटी लगाऊंगा,
Hmm.
बट आई
Hmm.
डोंट नो हु इज द यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया। So that is a problem that I have personally have, but would very happy to know your opinion about the protest, know your opinion about the personality traits that usually Gen Zs have. So yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So, I understand, yes, it's your opinion that if you are actually looking up lockup ke contestants, so you might as well become a little politically aware in a way that what is going on in your own nation, right?
Mhm.
So, I understand you coming from there, but the protests which have happened and everything which is going on, of course, first of all, information overload is a thing which is like the social media gets saturated with too much content, and a lot of people were trying to then go through verified news resources so that you know verified news channels, not just anything, because the actual public, the other media, the famous news outlets were spreading extreme amount of rumors and AI generated videos. Oh my God. So yeah, information overload does happen, that I understand. Okay, so you were talking about that whatever the protests have happened, and you were talking about personality traits about Gen Zs, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
this generation has been called a lot of names, right? But at the end of the day, this is also one of the generations which actually single-handedly, like sort of not single-handedly, but with the nation, actually took over the whole media and took over the whole world in a way that it was like a storm which we actually witnessed, and it was beautiful how everyone went came together, right? And the point is that this generation has been called a lot of names overall, but they are more aware to some extent. Yes, there is a lot of mislabeling which is happening, which is like self-diagnosis is a very big issue. Five signs you have ADHD, three things you might have OCD. Labels are used. The word trauma has been used so easily and is thrown around like left, right, and center. But that's a problem I have with everybody. That's a problem which is there on social media, that we have started diagnosing. Instead of awareness, we are now making it into I don't know what. It's not it's not a diagnosing medium. It's just information, right? Awareness. But again, coming back, I have seen that people have taken mental health more seriously, right? I have seen people have gone through a lot of mental health challenges. I have seen that they also know that boundaries exist and they need to make some, right? And they also are a generation who has seen so many things one after the other, but they do want to do the work as well. Of course, I've not seen the entire generation. I'm not generalizing completely, but a lot of them have understood that trauma is something we need to work on. Of course, this word
Mhm.
has been used too much that it is saturated now that nobody knows what does it mean to have trauma, right? People say things like, "Oh, my nails got ruined by the beauty parlor. I'm traumatized." I don't know whether you were traumatized or did you have an unpleasant experience, right? So the only issue which I have with social media at the moment is that we need to start using the labels properly. And not everything is trauma, and not everything is a disorder, and not everything is a diagnosis, right? One reel will not diagnose you with ADHD. Go to your psychiatrist or your psychologist to get diagnosed, please. Other than that, this is a generation which does believe that mental health is important, right? And I think so, a lot of millennials and other generations are also getting into the zone of like, yeah, mental health is important. I have seen a lot of people now trying. Stigma has reduced in India, but we still face major issues because we saw what has happened. Mental health has not taken seriously, right? So when it comes to personality, these are also the people who work on their personalities or on their traits. But at the same time, there are a lot of mislabeling happening.
Right. Self-awareness इस जनरेशन में काफी ज्यादा है as compared to the previous generation, what I personally believe. Because success of some brands like The Whole Truth,
Hmm.
Only What's Needed, Beast
Yeah,
Life, uh, there is Protein Oats brand, Goat,
yeah,
and then there are a few fitness brands. You can say Cult Fit
yeah,
अगर ले लो, HRH
yeah.
ले लो, beauty brands like you can say Dermaco,
Hmm.
Stays, Bella
Hmm.
Vita, these brands. So consumerism brands काफी ज्यादा आए हैं. Financially, of course, they have different habits, maybe bad, good. That's a different
Hmm.
topic of Gen Z, but making these brands successful, Gen Z का काफी important role रहा है. And
Hmm.
they are aware कि हाँ मुझे प्रोटीन चाहिए, मेरी बॉडी को क्या चाहिए मुझे पता है, और मेरी बॉडी
Hmm.
को थेरेपी चाहिए मुझे पता है. So
Hmm.
that's something Gen Zs have been taking care into consideration. So now towards protest part जो भी हुआ, so what's your take on it कि how system as a whole with their
Hmm.
decisions
Hmm.
ऑन ग्राउंड क्या रियलिटी हो जाती है, ऑन ग्राउंड क्या इम्पैक्ट होता है जिससे सोसाइटी पे इफेक्ट होगा, सोसाइटी पे इफेक्ट होगा, सो ऑफ कोर्स पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट्स पे इफेक्ट होगा जो आने वाली जनरेशन होगी. बिकॉज एजुकेशन तो ऑफ कोर्स सभी
Hmm.
लोगों का अधिकार है, एंड सभी लोग उस प्रोसेस से जाते हैं. एंड एजुकेशन इज समथिंग जो ऐसा फेस होता है जो मेजोरिटी ऑफ द लाइफ आपका रहता है, एंड वो बेस होता है आपका, क्योंकि अर्ली स्टेज पे आप एजुकेशन लेते हो, एंड इन दैट
Hmm.
अर्ली स्टेज यू बिल्ड योर होल पर्सनालिटी आउट ऑफ इट. सो विद द सोसाइटी इम्पैक्ट, विद द सिस्टम डिसीजंस, व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि इम्पैक्ट रहता है, क्या इम्पैक्ट रहता भी है कि नहीं, कैसा इम्पैक्ट रहता है, कैन यू डिफाइन इट अ बिट?
Okay. So you're saying that how the system responded and how the on ground reality was when it came to these protests?
Yeah, plus how the system decision can impact a personality or traits or the way of thinking about the world of
Hmm.
a 9 years old kid who is into the education
Hmm.
system.
But if you really look at how there was so much police brutality and brute force being used and how kids were beaten up, that trauma would live in their body for a very long time. Their nervous systems were traumatized. And yes, I can use the word trauma because it was something which people rarely told me as well. And I also listened and I was also able to understand that a lot of people collectively faced that issue, right? People were still making videos and reels about how they have been, hurt physically, right? But the point is that the physical brutality was one thing and the mental aspect to it was a different altogether level. Because next time I see somebody in a khaki uniform, my body is going to react like something is wrong, right? The whole narrative got changed. If I am in danger and the person was supposed to protect me, the last time I saw this person had actually had a lathi in his hand or in her hand and they were beating the hell out of people, I would be scared to go to the authority and be like, something wrong has happened to me. Everybody would lose psychological safety, the trust, and because of this, there will be more hypervigilance, right? You will be more anxious, you will be scared to step out of your houses. And if you're, let's say, traveling in a vehicle and there's a policeman nearby, you would be scared, even though you shouldn't be, right? And that would be misinterpreted as, oh, there's something to hide, that is why you're scared. But that's not the truth, right? Nobody understand what impact that thing had on your system. you might fear going out for a while, right? Because of what you faced. You might feel like not talking to people for a while. People will face anxiety. People will face a lot of anger. You must have seen that a lot of people are saying, I'm feeling rage, right? Why was that happening? Because we were feeling powerlessness. And when people at large feel powerlessness and helplessness to this extent, that is not okay for their systems, and they will see a lasting impact to some extent. So, a lot of trauma responses you might see. When COVID happened, we saw a lot of hypervigilance, people being extremely cautious when going out, coming in, and people being very, very hypervigilant. Whenever there is a very huge tragedy, a trauma, a disaster, your nervous system takes a hit, right? And the
Hmm.
people who have caused it, you feel scared or you feel extremely angry towards them, right? Or there might be another response, which I might be, or you might not do anything. You might freeze as well, right? Or you might start pleasing because you are around somebody who's an authority figure. You might try to be very nice to them. Like, oh, I don't want to be beaten today, I will oblige you in any way. Okay, you wanna take my money. It's okay. Just do not beat me.
So, yeah, that also made people conscious about things they do because that's into their system, and that's what exactly will go towards families, generations, right? As we are going towards the end of the conversation, so any last wordings you want to just spread it out?
Yeah, I think you were told to be a certain way, you were taught to be a certain way. But when you grow up and you are adulting and in life, when you are actually functioning as an adult, you need to see whether those beliefs are helping you or not helping you anymore. Because, of course, you maybe develop them in order to protect yourself at some point.
Thanks a lot, Ashita, to be here. I believe audience will love this conversation because we raised very important topic.
Yeah, I just want to leave this quick note that anything which I said here is something of an opinion and an understanding. It's not a diagnosis, it's not therapy, guys. Go to your therapist. Okay.